on YouTube. I'm not getting anything.
It does. Okay, hold on. Yeah, because right now it says It says viewers waiting 2. Hold on. Let me do this.
Yeah, I just refreshed it. I'm not getting anything.
Yeah, because it says I can end the stream. Concurrent viewers 3.
On YouTube. There we go.
Okay, cool. And then I got your I've got you to where you can record. So
all right. Charlie, anything before we start the show or how long do you want to stay on?
I'll stay on till I have a phone call I got to take at 7:30. So I could stay on probably till 7:15, 45 minutes.
Works for us.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Let me go mute the TV in the background so I don't have Liqueur yelling in my ear.
That's
right, Carlos.
All right.
And that's the show.
Hi,
Tim, are you ready for our Madden battles?
I am excited for them.
Interceptions are going to be in the teens.
Yeah, man. Fumblerooski is going to happen.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. Do the typical Wayne's World count in 5, 4, 3. Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Another installment of Late Night Reds Talk Live here on YouTube, and my internet has not gone out on me, so I am here after last week's debacle. I am Tim Daniel. I'm very excited to be back with my crew. We're going to be talking about a so-so week of Reds baseball, but it does end on a high note with a 12-2 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals, where Mike Schilt cried about a grand slam. And so we will always take that any day of the week. But let's go ahead and get into our excellent panel, as always, from the Red Leg Nation himself, Nick Kirby.
September 1st, season ended today. The Reds will be in the playoffs. It's a good night.
They would be indeed. Former big league pitcher himself, Carlos Guevara.
What's going on, guys?
How are you, bud?
I'm doing good. Doing real good.
Good. I'm glad. And we do have another great guest this week. You can check him out on Reds Live on pre and post game show in the Cincinnati area. You can also check him out if you're in the San Francisco, Sacramento area on CBS affiliates. This is Ohio U grad Charlie Walter himself. Welcome to Late Night Reds Talk Live, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. First time, long time. And if you happen to be a fan of West Coast Conference girls volleyball, you can hear me on the call with that as well. So if we have any of those out there, yes.
My wife would probably be all over that.
It's good volleyball, man. I'm calling BYU. They got one of the best teams in the country. So it's a fun sport to call. I've actually fallen in love with volleyball randomly because I didn't know anything about it before about 6 months ago.
There you go.
Nice.
So I mentioned it, and it's a very interesting conversation for you because you are, as you say in your Twitter bio, 513 born and raised. You work for the Reds and fly in for Reds Live to work with Sam LeCure and Chris Welsh. You also work in San Francisco, Sacramento area, going back and forth between up and down the Bay. How is really the question? How do you do all these things, Charlie? And what does your sleep schedule look like?
I get my 8 hours of sleep. I make sure I get my beauty sleep in there, but it all started, I've been with the Reds now for 3 years. Unless you're a diehard Reds fan, you probably don't even know. I was the down on the farm, minor league reporter for Reds Live 2019, the year we had Yasiel Puig. So I went down to AA Chattanooga. I did a story on Tyler Stevenson. I did a story on, who else did I do? TJ Friedel, who happens to be cousins with Coach Cal and Sean and Archie Miller. So he had the basketball bloodline, and that was a cool story. Did a story on Taylor Trammell before he got traded. He was the number one prospect at the time. Michael Ciani down in Dayton, a story on all the consecutive sellouts that Dayton had in general. So I was all over the place. Went to AAA, did a story on Aquino and O'Grady right before they got the call-ups. But you probably didn't, unless you caught pretty much every single Reds game, you may not know I exist because I was on, 4 or 5 Reds Live shows tops that year. Last year, they extended it to 30, 40 games, but with the pandemic, I got prorated down to 10 games. So if you watched some of the series last year, you may have been like, who the hell is this guy? So I stepped in there. I was working in Lexington at the time as a sports anchor for the NBC affiliate there. So it was an easy commute. Like you said, I am Cincinnati born and raised, lived there for the first 22 years of my life. So my fiance, actually at the time girlfriend, got a job in San Francisco working as a sportscaster out here. She was a news anchor in Lexington and said, I want to, I'm tired of covering depressing fires all the time. I wanted to get into sports and do what you do. So I helped her with a tape, and she, of course, makes a market jump about 60 spots into a top 6 market in the country and moves out to San Francisco. My contract was up in Lexington. I said, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to move out to San Francisco and see what happens during a pandemic, nonetheless, knowing that there was a good chance that the Reds were going to ask me to come back this year. And I'd figure it out when that day came. So I moved out here. First 4 months I was out here, I was doing a little bit of everything. I worked for a moving company for a week before I found out that I didn't want to work for a moving company. I sold some shoes at Dick's for a month during the holiday season where I could get some hours in the morning. I was personal training for a little bit because I had my license from way back when. So I was doing a little bit of everything until finally in March, right before the Red season began, a friend from Sacramento that works at CBS hit me up and said, hey, what are you doing out of the game right now? But there were no sports. So, it was tough to get a gig. She said, what are you doing? And I ended up getting in there, freshening up the repertoire before I came back for the Reds. Was with the Reds the first month of the season while BG was doing hockey. So that was the majority of my games. And then after I went back to San Francisco in May, I've been flying back and forth for select series here and there that are all picked out before the season began. We tried to get about a homestand, 2 series in a row so I could get 6 games. But lately it's been more 3. So I'm flying back and forth for the 3-game sets. But we're in a playoff push, man. And then the San Francisco job just happened in the last few months. They reached out and saw that I was doing – it's owned and operated just like the Sacramento one. So they poached me away from Sacramento. So now I'm working closer to home. But yeah, a lot of frequent air miles, long story short, flying back and forth. For example, last week when I came back for the, what series was it? The Marlins series. I took a red eye on Thursday, got in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, worked, immediately got on a red eye back on Sunday, and then had anchoring in San Francisco Monday night. So a lot of traveling, a lot of airtime, which I can't complain about. So enough about me, onto the Reds.
I do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
When you work in Sacramento, do you have to explain to them that the Kings used to be in Cincinnati as an NBA team? Are people aware of this?
No, I actually have a Chris Webber Cincinnati Royals jersey that I just wanted to bust out on the set one day. Oh yeah, I got it from China way back in the day. The Chinese website, like one of those.
Yes, DHgate. I'm very familiar.
Yeah, not actually from China. I've never been. But yeah, so I should have worn that on the set. I'm not really working up in Sacramento anymore. They call me up every once in a while on a Sunday where they have these half-hour shows that follow right after the 49ers games or Raiders games on CBS. And I help out with that, but mainly I'm just in San Francisco right now working here for the CBS affiliate. And I got 3 more games with the Reds this season against the Cardinals coming up, I think next week. So 1 more flight. At the beginning of the year, it was so doable. I was running on adrenaline, and now it's a lot of flying. I've come to find out that I'm not a huge fan of airports anymore, just the whole process, and I got the clear pass and everything. Yeah.
It's a hell of a commute. So I was curious. I've always kind of been interested. What is it like for you, during a home game? What do you guys do in between the games? Where do you guys go? How does during the game work in between your pregame and postgame show?
So I showed up last year for my first day, 6 hours before the game. I beat all the producers there and everything. And I was just sitting there like, hey, where is everyone? They're like, what are you doing? Why are you here that early? I just, didn't know what I was doing. I showed up and I wanted to be uber prepared. once you kind of get your schedule down and figure out how long it takes to prep for a show, for the pregame show, I like giving myself about 3 hours of prep where I watch every Reds game. You know, I'm a diehard fan. I grew up a massive fan of Cincy, dating back to the Chris Steins and Pokey era and Alex Ochoa and all those guys.
Alex Ochoa.
So I don't really have to do my research. You know, it's kind of just most of it's up in here. I'm not some like random dude that stepped in. I'm actually a fan. So before the game, I like to give myself about 2.5 hours. We have the first 2 blocks of the meat and potatoes. You know, the first block of the pregame show is always the best and has the most info. The second block, usually pitching matchups and has some info too. And then by the time you get to the C block, it's usually Jim Day's block. And then the D block is just DraftKings and some other things that Sam Slate and some other things that they take care of where I don't have to do as much prep work. But give myself about 2.5 hours, get there before the game. When I finish my prep work, go up to the press box, grab some food with Welsh or Cowboy, whoever's up there. Do the show. When I finish the show, I usually sit up in the social media room that's right next to the broadcast booth, next to Sadak and Larkin. And I'll sit up there. There's air conditioning. There's like 7 TVs. There's the live stream Twitter where I can see the angry fans, you know, game number 2 of the season, writing the team off or game number 1 because they're down by 6 to the Cardinals in the first. But I usually sit up there every once in a while if it's a nice day, which I haven't gotten a lot of on my days. It was freezing the first month I was there, like seasonably one of the coldest springs ever in Cincinnati. Opening day was miserable. That Diamondback series was awful. But and then when I came back, it's been really hot. But every once in a while, if it's a nice day, I'll just wander around the concourse. I'll find a seat and hang out, grab myself, you know, that $18 all you can eat and drink pack where you get, you know, popcorn and soda and hot dogs, and I'll just sit out in left field and chill for those businessman specials. But yeah, we'll go down there in like the 7th inning, do some prep work, get the highlights ready and everything, and then roll from there. Post-game show is easier than pre-game because obviously you watch the game and you know what you're talking about.
The energy when you're doing a game and, you know, let's say you were doing tonight and, you know, they win 12-2, they beat the Cardinals, who the city hates so very much, obviously. And then you have the crowd that surrounds you when they hit the nice steel table there. Yeah. Like, what is that like for you guys when you have that like feeling and like that energy, like after a win?
Well, first of all, the Cardinals. I was at the, I think I was in high school at the time. Yeah, it was my senior year of high school. I was at the Brandon Phillips, Yadier Molina, the fight. I mean, I know they had a few dust ups, but the fight, you know, where they were going. And I was actually in the car with some buddies. We were hanging out, having a barbecue before the game. We were on our way to the game, and we turn on the radio, and we just hear Marty just bashing the Cardinals and the whole situation. Like, did we just miss the biggest fight? So we missed that one. And then to bring 2 points together, I was also at the Crosstown Shootout, the brawl, and I left that game early too. So the 2 big brawls in Cincinnati, I was at the game and missed the fights. But going back to it, this is my first year doing it. So last year we were in the studio for every game because of COVID. Prior with LEX 18, I was, you know, in front of a teleprompter in a studio setting where you're talking to someone behind the camera and then maybe your meteorologist that's in the corner not paying attention. So you're literally just hyping, you know, getting all happy as you're talking to a camera. So it's a different element. You work into it. And then when I got this job and the first day that it was full capacity against the Rockies, because the beginning of the year, there were just some stragglers here and there because there were, you know, 10,000 fans or whatever. But once I got that full capacity game for the Rockies and they gave me the broom on the desk and everything, I mean, it's electric. Like, it is a lot of fun, especially when you're actually a fan of the team. It's wild. I can't believe I'm doing it.
Well, I'll tell you, you missed that and you missed the Crosstown Brawl. I can make up for you being as I was at the wild card playoff game of the Antonio Brown hit. So.
Okay. Yeah. I was actually in Alabama getting my first job out of college, getting ready to do a studio hit. They recovered the fumble, or I guess Burfict picked it off, ball game over. I'm celebrating down in the studio with all, the people down there. And I come back up and it's as Big Ben's leading like a touchdown or a field goal drive to win it. And I'm just like, what is going on? How did that happen? Then I see the replay and I'm just like, oh, Bengals.
Pain. Yeah, pain. So let's talk about the fact that the Reds are in a playoff push. Why don't we, guys? This is obviously not something that happens too much in our age group. So the fact it's really exciting. Charlie, when you look at this team, obviously, I think one of the things that was really great, we had Jamie Ramsey on last week. And one of the things he said that was really cool and, was really on point, like Jamie normally is, was that it seems like when this team has needed someone to step up, someone has always stepped up for this team. Lately, obviously, last month, it was Tyler Naquin. He was tremendous. Joey Votto obviously had that stretch. Castellanos and Winker were so good. They were all-star starters.
Farmer, yeah.
Kyle Farmer. I mean, you go down the list, Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India, so on and so forth. This is a team that hasn't had Nick Senzel for more than, I think he's played 20-something games.
You know who's due? Suarez. And after 2 home runs, he's due. What if he goes off down the stretch? Would that not be a storybook ending, leading them to the playoffs?
We're all hoping. So
yeah,
for you, like watching this, like you said, you grew up a fan. You are, you're in the age group with us, like I said, so like this isn't something we've seen our whole lives. What has this season been like for you to watch this team?
They're exciting. Like in the last, one of the things I was most excited about when I came back from the couple of years I spent in Alabama and Knoxville to move up to Lexington to take that TV job was I knew that we were going to cover the Reds somewhat. And because the Reds were so bad the 3 years I was there and no one really cared, Lexington's obviously Reds country, but they bleed blue UK to the point where if the Reds aren't good, you'll show a highlight and that's it. You're not making your way to Great American and covering them and stuff like that. And they were so bad every year I was there. And then the pandemic hit last year. So I didn't really get to enjoy them. And the games got blacked out. The 3 years I was there, they got blacked out in Lexington. So I never got to watch them, I mean, the first year I was there, they started off like 2-19 to where I was just like, well, that was fun. I don't need to watch this team for the rest of the year. I mean, it's fun, man. And a lot of people, there's so much negativity on Twitter. I spend too much time on that platform. Yeah, there's so much negativity, and it's like, well, let's look at the bright side. Like, we're in the last month, a playoff stretch. Like, the Mets would love to be us right now. They spent all this money. They have all these good players. They, pulled out the pocketbook for Lindor, and we got, people complaining about the front office that we didn't do enough. Like, we got a damn good team on our hands. Unfortunately, so do the Giants and Dodgers, who we may be playing in the first round, but in one game, anything can happen, which brings me to my point. Who would you guys rather play hypothetically? And we got to knock on the wood and we got to realize that you got to get there first. But Giants or Dodgers in a 1-game series, who are you going with?
Well, now that you said something, I got to make sure I find my Jabu and make sure I have him around me the rest of the episode. So
they can't hear us. I'm a firm believer that, what 5 or 4 20-something, 30-something year olds are talking about across the country is not going to affect this team. But I say that, and the game that Cincinnati blew to Nevada in the going to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, I was actually in a group with all my buddies and called it at halftime. I'm like, it's done. This team sucks. These Martin twins are terrible. And of course it always comes back to get me. If it's, gambling, I call it. I'm like, it's a lock. It's done. They're covering the 6. And then there's like some horrible beat down the stretch. So I don't want to jinx it, but if hypothetically we were to get to that point, yeah. Who you going with, Giants or Dodgers?
Yeah, we don't need any Rowdy Tellez situations on the show again.
Yes. Man, that's a good one. I think, got it. The joke is I said that I wish the Birds would give Rowdy Tellez more at bats, and he went crazy for like 3 weeks after I said that.
Just like Homer every night. It was
night.
Insane.
I got tweets every night.
Broadcasters jinx. Cowboys said Giants, by the way. I asked him that question the other day when he was in there with Sadak, and he said he'd rather play the Giants over the Dodgers. It's tough. I mean, Giants on paper, yes, but they've been pretty efficient all year.
Yeah, I think I do lean the Giants just because I feel like the Dodgers lineup is better. I know that the standings say, I know what the win total says, but this is a team that just won the World Series. They've got MVPs in their lineup. And then, it's one game against, granted you're facing Kershaw or Scherzer, which is definitely scary.
Or Bueller, whereas Giants, it's Gosman, Cueto, or Webb. So yeah, in that regard, you lean towards the Giants, and it'd be nice to get some payback against the Giants.
Yes,
but going to
that's
Oracle,
the other thing.
I've just been watching a lot more San Francisco Giants baseball than I have in the past, and I don't know what it is, but that team is just good. They just get the job done. They've lost it feels like they've lost 4 series in the last 2 months.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Bryant's there now, and obviously he's had his share of success against the Reds, so that's something you got to worry about. But Dodgers, I know what the season has said. I know Mookie has been battling injuries, but 1 through 8, they still scare the hell out of me way more than most teams, and maybe any team in the National League.
So, I mean, there is a scenario where the Brewers could be the number 1 seed, which I think kind of changes everything. Because the Brewers are only 3.5 games behind the Giants right now. I think they're playing right now. So if the Brewers were the number 1 seed, I would love to have the Giants as the wild card, and then the Brewers in the NLDS. Obviously, the Reds could beat the Brewers in a series. I mean, they're 8-9 against them. I mean, it's certainly possible. If it's the Giants and Dodgers, I'd rather take the Dodgers in the 1-game playoff. I'm Mr. Optimistic, but I would not like the Reds' chances in a best-of-5 series against the Dodgers. I mean, just look at their pitching staff. So, yeah. I mean, I guess if the goal is to win the wild card game, sure, take the Giants. But if, you want to even have a chance of going to the NLCS, I think it'd be a lot better situation for the Reds to try to get the Dodgers in a 1-game playoff where the Reds could throw 3 starting pitchers out, not even use their bullpen, and beat them without even having to go deep into their full 26-man roster.
I just love how my dad grew up to the era of the Big Red Machine, and we're just let's win the wild card game. We got it. Let's win the wild card game. But I mean, that's where we stand. You got to get in win that one game and see what happens. I like this team a lot, though. They're fun, and my favorite part about the way they're structured is you got Green and Lodolo ready. Barrero, I know in limited sample size hasn't done a ton in the majors, but I think he's still going to be a pretty good player. And so you add in those guys with the core they have of Stevenson and India and Winker if he's back, and all these guys, Naquin. I mean, they got a core that's set up to be pretty good for the next few years, which is nice.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like 2013, the last time the Reds were in the wild card game, I mean, it really felt like that was it. I mean, that was really the last chance. Whereas this team, they're definitely set up for the next couple years after this year. So that's kind of a nice feeling.
Yeah, I will say that 2013, the year after Sin-Soo Choo, when we had Chapman and Cueto and still a lot of those guys, and we started unloading in the latter half of that season, I feel like we were really good in the first half and had high expectations.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just absolutely crumbled down the stretch. So, yeah.
What about you, Carlos? Who do you feel most comfortable playing in that game?
I don't know. I feel like the majority of Reds country would be happy at least winning the playoff game, instead of setting up to try to play the Giants or someone else. So personally, myself, I would take the Giants because it's a better shot of winning that game and actually getting at least another 2 games guaranteed. Or I don't even remember what the series is. Is it best of 5 or 7?
5.
Yeah, so at least another 2. I mean,
3.
I don't know. That's just my point of view with it. Sure, if they were a stacked team with, maybe last year's starting staff, I might feel a bit different. But right now, I'd rather play the Giants first round and have to go against that starting pitching.
And there's no scenario where we could play the Braves, right?
No. Unless the Reds catch the Brewers, which that would be a real.
Their schedules get tougher.
But the one thing, it's almost at this point, I would say root for the Brewers, because there could be a scenario where the Brewers get that number 1 seed. You could play the Giants in the wild card game, and then maybe the Braves somehow upset the Dodgers, and you never have to play the Dodgers. that would be a real just, gift for the Reds to have, a chance. But you never know in the playoffs. I mean, these are, all these games are close to toss-ups.
The way the Dodgers are playing right now, though, is there that much of a difference between the Dodgers and the Brewers? Like, I know that on paper we look at them and we still see some kinks in their lineup, and we're like, like they're beatable. But they've been since they got Adames, they've been so consistent for the last 3 months. I mean, their rotation, their bullpen, they may be my sleeper to win it all, for real.
They could win it all, but I think they could also lose like 3 straight 2-1 games. Their offense is good, but in a playoff situation where their offense is only going to face good pitching every single night, you're not going to throw many bad pitchers in a playoff game. That's where I wonder if their offense would maybe, I don't want to use the word expose. I feel like that's maybe a little too harsh, but kind of that sense where, there was a reason everyone was skeptical about their offense. They've overachieved, but their offense is going to be still significantly less dangerous than I think anyone they'd play in the playoffs.
I think too, when it comes to the Dodgers, my biggest fear is it's the Reds in a must-win situation. And even though he is 48 years old now, apparently, I'm kidding. Albert Pujols will be going against them. So the fear of like Albert Pujols just having one more moment against the Reds will always be in the back of my head. So,
well, the good news is the Reds don't have any good left-handed pitchers, and he only comes in against left-handed pitchers. So,
okay, that's fair. Yeah.
He literally, I think, he's literally only used in platoon spots. So
spin zone.
There you go.
You make the wild card. You're playing Giants, Dodgers. It doesn't matter. Let's throw out the matchup. Let's just say you're playing either the Giants or the Dodgers. Who you start in game one? Sonny, Luis, or Wade?
Tyler.
You starting Malley?
Yeah, road. His road numbers are the best on the team. I would use 3 starting pitchers. We've talked about this a little bit before. I would have 3 starting pitchers lined up, 3 innings each. I mean, that's it. You lose the game, the season's over. Why use a reliever? And then you still have Sonny Gray lined up for game 1 of a NLDS. I know that's probably a little wild, but I mean, Tyler Malley has the best road numbers on the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a really good season. They're all pretty. They all give you a chance to win in their own right. Even Vlad with the way he's been pitching. So there's not one that. Which is interesting because every team has their ace. This team really, I mean, you can make the case for any of them. It's just who's hot. I'd go with whoever's hot at that moment, and right now it looks to be either Luis or Sonny that are getting hot at the right time. Wade obviously had the great start in Miami today, not as great, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's funny that you factor in just the splits though, because he's only been good on the road this year. Like you look at last year, he wasn't good on the road or anything. So it's interesting.
Sonny's definitely.
Is it too far to look ahead to see like matchup wise, like who's going to be probable to start those last couple of games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, there's at this point, so much can happen in like a week. By the time I go back for that Cardinal series, we could be like 4 up on the wild card, or we could be like 4 down. So I mean, it happens quick.
And the wild card game is not till Wednesday, so really. Anyone except for your last 2 starters, the Saturday, Sunday, would be available on normal rest. So I think when you start
against the Pirates, they won't be exerting much effort those games.
Yeah, you could. So I think they'll be able to manipulate it over. But yeah, I definitely think Sonny Gray is getting into the conversation, and I wouldn't have said that probably 3 weeks ago. But he's probably pitching the best of anyone. Maybe Gutierrez is pitching the best, but I don't think anyone's realistically. As good as Gutierrez has been, really considering throwing him in the wild card game. But yeah, Sonny Gray's definitely, it's going to be a tough decision.
I like the optimism. It's going to be a tough decision. We're getting there.
Yeah. We don't have this too often, so we got to, go with what we can say. And this is our, our best feelings. But yeah, I think that's a great, you can't go wrong in the circumstance. I do agree with Malley for the sake the 2, like we've known him to have these issues. I like Nick's plan, especially if you do start Mallett to start the game, because we know he's had these issues where he's had these 25, 26 pitch innings fairly often this year. He's still been able to like get out of damage. He's still been able to like pitch really well, but that is something that we know affects him at times. I mean, I think pitches per at bat, he's pretty high up in the National League lead for that. I don't have the stats in front of me to verify that by any means, but I'm pretty sure he's up there amongst the rest of the league. But there's those times that he pitches his 5 innings games and he is terrific, but he's just so high in pitch count that they got to take him out. So in that circumstance, it's one less thing you got to worry about with him if you go that route.
Tyler Mahle actually throws more strikes than Wade Miley. That's like now maybe it switched. I looked at it like 2 weeks ago. It's a very common misconception about Tyler Mahle is that he doesn't throw enough strikes. He actually throws above average amount of strikes. It's just there's a lot of foul balls off Miley. Mm-hmm. Whereas Wade Miley, his pitches are put in play, more. It's kind of hard to really like, hey, Tyler, let them hit the ball more. It's a lot easier, I think said than done. And you can really, mess up a guy, trying to pitch to contact if that's not, really in his strength.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. So let me ask you this, because I know it's kind of the conversation has been all throughout the season. We've, like you said, you mentioned some of the great Reds of Chris Steins and Alex Ochoa that you've grown up loving, like we all have. Do you remember the Reds having a young core this fun? And when the Jonathan Indias, the Tyler Stevensons, like these guys that, like Nick said, like, this team, with arbitration rules, they're pretty set with these guys plus Vlad and things like that. Like, I don't remember the Reds having a young core that's one, been this fun, and two, been this entertaining and helpful for success, maybe since the Votto Bruce teams.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 90s. I can't go back that far, but I'm thinking early 2000s where they brought in Kearns and Dunn and that crew to and Junior to get the team past the hump. But I mean, like Kearns and Dunn, Dunn was a funny guy, but I don't remember him having like a huge personality. Same with Kearns. Then I'm thinking of the next batch that came up right around when Dusty started in 2009 or whatever with Joey and Jay and Brandon. That was a fun core. You had Brandon and Joey, Jay. I'm trying to think of who else was around.
Johnny Gomes was a big personality.
Mm-hmm.
Gomes, Cueto. You had some electricity, with Cueto and Chapman, and Latos was obviously a personality. And Homer Bailey was a massive prospect. I remember how excited I was the first time I felt like he was down in Louisville for like 15 years and they finally called him up. That's probably the closest thing I can remember. But right now it's at every position. I don't think the pitching is necessarily as great as it was in those early 2010 teams a decade ago. But hitting wise, you look at every single position, especially if they locked up Castellanos, there's not really a hole anywhere. With the way Farmer's playing right now, Moustakas obviously isn't having a great year, but at least he's a big name and you're hopeful that he can have some big at bats. Votto's having a career year. Your outfield's loaded. Stevenson and Tucker are nice behind the dish. I don't know. It's a fun team. I think it may be the most fun era of my lifetime.
I think the 2010 team was much more like, they were fun, but they were much more like business-like.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe like a Johnny Gomes that, had a big personality, but all the best players, there wasn't really a lot of, even Votto at that point, wasn't a lot of personality shown on a
Chapman. Yeah, he wasn't
allowed back then. There was too many like Arthur Rhodes and Scott Rowlands, and
that's what I'm saying. The game's changed.
Allowed to do that.
Yeah, I don't.
There's nothing wrong with that. That was still a very fun team to watch. It's
look at that team's emotional leader and Scott Rowland compared to this team's emotional leader in like Winker Votto, this year's Votto, who all of a sudden is the most hilarious dude on the planet. Winker, Votto, and like Castellanos. Like, just look at the way they carry themselves compared to that last batch. So yeah, absolutely. There's an excitement. It's fun.
I tried to get him to unlock that personality for 15 years. Finally listens.
Yeah.
You like talking about that just made me think of, was it 2012 when Chapman was like slumping for that bit and he finally got that save. He did this somersaults like off the mound, and like,
I remember that.
and Votto and Bruce apparently pulled him to the side, were like, you can't be doing that. But now they'd probably be like, that's kind of funny.
I think Tom had a funny call on that, or something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but there was definitely some funny banter about that one. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be in the position we're in. I mean, it's been so, and there have been some awesome moments in the last 7 years as we've been waiting, 6 years. I mean, we saw what we thought was going to be an absolute superstar in Aquino. That was one of the most incredible streaks for a team that was semi-irrelevant aside from, big biceps and shirtless or sleeveless jerseys and things like that. For the most part, they were never really in the hunt after that bad start. But I mean, that was like a fun team. I will say the Reds have done a pretty good job of, even though they haven't had great records over the year, fielding some teams with characters, which they definitely did not do 15 years ago with some of the guys they had.
I think they've done a good job marketing those
Yeah.
characters too, whereas maybe in years past, like when Chapman rolled, it was like, oh, you can't do that, whereas now it's like, hey, this is part of the show, with the Garrett's comments earlier this year, showboating, Sons of Guns or whatever it was, they promoted that, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome for the sport and the future of the sport.
Yeah, as long as you're winning.
Yeah.
And fortunately, aside from that, like Arizona, whatever drought it spilled into, where there was the 6-game losing streak or 5-game losing streak, whatever it was. Aside from that, there have been a few little dry spells, but they've been pretty consistent.
What a year from the Diamondbacks. Like, one of the worst teams in baseball. They beat up on the Reds, and then they've been beating up on the Padres for the last month.
Yeah, they had at one point they had 7 road wins, 100 games into the season, and I just remember the 3 being a sweep of the Reds. I'm just like, how did they lose those 3?
I think they've won 7 of their last 10 against the Padres, though. So it's just a weird team.
Thank you, Arizona.
Yeah, they give and they take.
Thank you for Asdrubal.
Yeah, which that was really a surprising pickup. I like it, but it was definitely surprising. How about the lineup of Shields today? First game getting in the starting lineup. Some nice hits.
I've been busy the last few days, so I was caught off guard when I turned the TV on. I'm like, what? When did we get to Shields? When did we get him?
Someone said looks just like Phil Irvin, and I was like,
it does.
It was like it clicked. I was like, that's who that looks like.
We had him in AAA, right? We've had him all year.
No,
they literally got him yesterday, and then they outrighted him to Louisville, and then when the rosters expanded today, they called him up.
They were able to make a trade because he wasn't on the Rangers 40-man roster.
Okay.
Andy hadn't been on the major league team all year with the Rangers, which I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would expect much out of him. I almost think he might be a guy that's up here for 2 weeks, and then if Winker's back,
yeah, and we need him back ASAP.
Yeah, definitely. You've definitely seen, like the first game today, when the Reds are facing some right-handed pitchers out of the bullpen, man, it's just
I talked emotional leaders and how it's Nick, Joey, and really everyone adds a bit to this team, but it's Nick, Joey, and Winker. I think are the 3 guys that really drive it with the energy and the personality, and it rubs off on everyone. When they're going, it seems like everyone's going, and the riders. And I mean, he needs to get back soon, because it's not who always is best going into the playoffs. It's who's healthiest.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, we're just out on time for what you.
I got 5 more minutes. I got 5
more minutes.
Let's go. Let's go.
Awesome. I like it. Perfect. Okay, so. What are we talking about? Okay, curious because this is one of the topics that came up. So we were going to talk today about this whole thing with Javi Baez and the Mets and this whole debacle where they're thumbs down the fans. I saw that thing where Jesus Aguilar from the Miami Marlins was like yelling at the Mets dugout about it. Just curious, there's someone who like works in national media and does TV games and is around Major League ball players. Like what were your thoughts when you kind of heard this news and like how to react to it? Because I don't think that's something that would fly here. I think Cincinnati fans would go crazy.
No, I've seen so much made of this where people are just, irate saying like, well, we pay their salaries. First of all, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, that's a dumb thing.
But at the same time, it's a respect thing. These fans aren't perfect. I watched the Malice at the Palace documentary the other day, and you realize it was good. It was really good. You realize right away that, there's a lot of issues sometimes with the whole fan aspect of everything, but you can't deny that the fans are passionate and that they call these guys their own, like Javi Baez. He doesn't have any connection to New York. These fans are fired up. They're buying his jerseys. They want his autograph. Like they want a connection to the guy. And then to go out there just because a select bunch booed you and you're making so much money to where it's like, and to give them the thumbs down, I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't have a lot to say on the whole matter, but that's kind of my take. Is it's just like, why? You can't get them up or something. You got to really go with the thumbs down and stir the pot. It's just a pot stir to me, but not really a shocker.
I'm curious Carlos's thoughts on this, kind of as someone who has actually played.
I mean, I mean, you're just asking for trouble. You put your hand in the beehive, right? Like, I mean,
especially
come on.
in New York.
I mean, every single player who's ever played the game on the road and even at home has wanted to do the same thing, has wanted to yell at a fan, probably has yelled at a fan. But this guy's on the major league level and saying this, and there's no, whether he's right or wrong, he's losing in the public eye. There's no way that he's winning that argument. Absolutely none. So you just stay away from it. And he's probably thinking, I'm not going to be here after the year, and this is BS. We're playing bad, and they're even trying to put us down even more. So let's go and do this. Okay, that's fine. Well, then don't make it public. That was so stupid of him to say that. He could have said, it's just an inside thing me and the teammates have. Maybe they would have asked more questions, but no, it's just too much for me.
I'm a big, before I do something, weighing the risk and reward ratio. It's like, what's the risk there? What are you putting on the line as compared to what's the reward of doing that? It's
because that was thought of before any game started.
Yes.
That's talked about like in batting practice or on the road or on the plane.
Yeah,
hey,
choreographed.
Yeah, let's start doing this. And he's a tired act. And even in that press conference, he's like, I don't try to, bring any attention to me or anything like that. I'm like, excuse me, what?
Coming from the guy who was in the ESPN body issue. I don't really want any attention, guys,
Yeah, the whole I don't want any attention after he hit that walk off against Garrett, and like I don't know if I've ever seen a guy try to draw more attention on himself than in that moment. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was really overblown, a lot of it. I do think I don't really get fans booing. I don't know why that makes you I get like a 15-year-old kid booing, but like grown adults, like, do you really need to go boo guys that are trying their hardest? Maybe if a guy's not hustling or something like that, but a guy has a bad night, really we need to boo him. But
hey, what's that T-Pain song? Is it Blame It on the Alcohol? Who sings that? That's
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, I mean the Jamie Foxx song. That's kind of what it's come to with usually the unruly ones. I mean, there may be some people with a few screws loose, but usually you can blame it on the booze.
Yeah. There was does anyone know the Simpsons reference when like Mr. Burns gets booed and he's like in a Smithers is like, no, sir, they're saying boo earns. Someone in the City Field last week had a sign that says, no, I was saying boo Iez. It said B-O-A-E-Z, and I was like, fantastic. Just
that's comedy.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love it. Did we hit your 5 minutes? Do you still have, or
I got one more topic.
All right, one more topic. I love it.
You want to do the what team are you? What team in the wild card hunt are you most thinks is the biggest competition for the Reds? That was the topic we wanted to talk about. I'd love to hear Charlie's thoughts on that. So the Padres, the Cardinals, the Phillies, I guess the Mets are kind of hanging around. Which of those do you think is the most challenging?
Half of me wants to say the Padres just because they're already there and they do have talent. They've showed that they can win games, and they opened up the wallet in the offseason. They have good players. But I don't know. I've seen this story. The Cardinals, they're closing in quickly. I just don't know. I look at the Cardinals this year and I don't know if they have it. I really don't. I think the Reds are better than them. They only play how many more games? They have 6 more games, maybe 3.
3, just one series. I actually got it up here. It's a really cool website, tankathon.com.
I use it for NBA stuff all the time.
It is someone, and this one belongs to the Reds on Twitter. I'll shout out them that they sent it to me, and it's incredible. But yeah, just 3 left. The Cardinals actually have the 3rd toughest schedule remaining in baseball.
Padres have the toughest.
Padres are the toughest.
So let's put it this way: heart says I'm most afraid of the Cardinals. Head says I'm most afraid of the Padres. I know the Padres have been skidding lately, but there's still time to get back on track. They're loaded. They have talent. They've proved that when they put it together, they can contend. But I just don't know, with all these games they have against the Giants and Dodgers, like, if they don't start winning some series, which the Giants don't lose series, I'm telling you, like, I've watched 30 Giants series this year. They've lost like 2. So I don't really like them in that regard. I like the Reds. If I was a betting man, I'd be placing the futures on the Reds, because I think they're going to get done. I do.
Well, it's an odd year, so the Giants won't win the World Series because they only won the World Series in even years.
True.
Yeah.
It's definitely the Reds to lose. I mean, the Reds have the easiest schedule. They have the lead. It's the Reds to lose. I mean, I would say, there was a reason the Padres were like, 90% odds of making the playoffs before the season started. Like, they have a very talented team, so I don't think you can overlook them. I don't think the Cardinals have the starting pitching.
You still have 9 more against the Pirates, right?
Yeah,
the Reds still have 9 more against the Pirates. The Cardinals, I mean, they're going to be facing tough teams every night, and they don't have I don't think they have the pitching to survive. The team that I think is sneaking up, that I think is dangerous, is the Phillies.
Yeah,
the Phillies are the only team in baseball that has an easier schedule remaining than the Reds. And the Phillies, I mean, they have Wheeler and Nola. They have some.
How far back are they, though?
I think they got rained out. I think the Reds are now 3 up on them, so they do have a 3-game cushion. But
won 5 in a row,
and they do have a slightly easier schedule than the Reds. So the only good thing about the Phillies is the Phillies could catch the Braves and then take the NL East, and then they're not even in the wild card race, and so that could get negated. But yeah, if the Reds finish behind the Cardinals, I think they'll also be finishing behind someone else. So I wouldn't worry about the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals are going to get the second wild card either way.
Yeah.
Carlos, what's your thoughts?
Padres.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking the Padres are.
Hey, Curb.
Like Charlie said, they're so damn loaded.
Team Bang.
Yeah.
Bangarang, Rufio.
Yeah, they're loaded. So I don't know. The Cardinals, I don't see anything there. They're going to come tumbling down here in September.
Yeah.
The Phillies, just keep a cushion. Just stay away from them.
Yeah. I mean, they are scary. I was actually shocked with how well the Reds played against them this year. We took 4 of 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryce has been tremendous since he came back from injury.
Yeah. We still have the Nationals left. They always scare me despite their record, because I feel like we never really play great against the Nationals, but it's a new year and we took 2 of 3 against them earlier in the year, if I'm not correct, or if I'm not mistaken.
Scherzer.
Yeah. Scherzer, Turner gone. All those guys, Harrison, Yan Gomes, they dished everyone. I mean, they stink.
Yeah, I was looking at who all's left in their World Series roster, and it's like a whole new team basically.
Yeah, it's completely different. I can't believe they won the World Series. I actually went to one of their first games ever at RFK back in the day.
Oh man,
Yeah, it was such a piece. I mean, it was the worst stadium I've ever been to. It was so bad. I just remember like I felt like there were no seats in the lower bowl. It was just like it was almost like synergy, how there were just tons of seats like really high up and barely any down low.
So like going
It
to a
was,
basketball game at US Bank Arena.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
it was
God,
really
yeah.
goofy. It was a while ago. It was in '06. It was the same weekend that Bonds either hit 756 or yeah, it would have been 756 in '06 or '05, one of the two. So yeah.
Crazy, man. It's just, yeah. I always heard it was pretty brutal because it was, as we remember, like you said from Riverfront, sharing a stadium with an NFL team doesn't ever go really well.
No.
As,
I mean,
as you saw with the A's and the Raiders.
which brings you to another point, and I got a minute or two. But dude, what's up with that Marlins stadium? Like, it looks so nice. They spent all this money on it. No one
They get
goes
like
to those
30
games.
people there.
It just, I
It's in the
don't.
middle of a terrible part of town. It's like there's nothing around there. You have to
Isn't
drive
it by the
20
old
minutes.
Orange Bowl?
I don't think so.
I thought it was by the old Orange Bowl.
All I know is there's nothing around there. Like you drive 20 minutes from anything to get there.
That's rule number one. That's Stadium 101. And the Bengals and Reds did a nice job with it. Like, I don't care how nice your stadium is. You better make the surrounding area good. Oakland's dealing with it right now. The A's are probably going to go to Las Vegas in the next couple of years because the Coliseum, one, it's a piece. And two, it's in like the worst part of Oakland. There's nothing by it. There's nothing to do. It's just a giant parking lot. The same with Turner Field. Like, Turner Field was probably nice enough to where the Braves could still be playing there, but there was nothing to do around it, and it wasn't in a good spot. And like the list goes on and on. You look at every stadium that teams that leave and stuff, it's because they don't build around it.
I think, to further your point, so one, Miami fans are just like really bad sports fans. Like the Heat, when the Heat were good, even before LeBron, they would like show up in the second quarter and leave at the end of like 5 minutes to go in the fourth. The infamous Ray Allen shot, they're all gone. Like they're all out of the stadium. They're trying to run back in when he ties the game up.
I remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah. But I think, like Nick lives in Cleveland. Like I think where the Indian Stadium is, downtown Cleveland, is awesome. I think like the little area, because it's right by the.
I don't think it's as good as the Red.
No, not at all.
Cool area. Thirsty Parrot.
Man, it's like really
brutal
cool
to drive. It's brutal to drive in to. It's really, really hard to get to. But no, once you're like there, especially like walking around, it's really nice that the Indians and the Gladiators and the Guardians, whatever they are, and the
Gladiators
and the Cavs, they share the same parking lot, so that's kind of cool. They're like right next to each other. But
last thing I want to add, I want to say this to anyone watching right now. I think the Reds may have, outside of like Wrigleyville, and I don't know Boston, New York, some of these other stadiums. I'm just talking venues I've been to, which is not that many. But I'm out in San Francisco right now. Oracle, wow, it's a beautiful stadium and it's awesome. Like the Banks is better than anywhere around Oracle. I mean, Oracle's got the Embarcadero down the way that has some really cool restaurants within 3 miles. But they don't have anything like the Banks where you walk out. They have like 2 bars / restaurants that are just jam packed where you can't even walk in there. You're in a can of sardines. So, I mean, Reds did a really good job because the Banks back in the day, you guys remember it growing up. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was just a giant parking lot. There was nothing down there.
What about where the Warriors' new arena is?
It's awesome. It's right by it's Warriors Arena, like over here. Giants Arena over here. I mean, they're both awesome. There's just not a ton to do down there. There's a lot of apartments. They're starting to develop more bars and restaurants, but that used to be like one of the worst parts of San Francisco before, the last 15 years or so. Where the Niners played in Candlestick is actually like literally the worst part of San Francisco. So they're down in Santa Clara now. But yeah, I mean, the Reds, they're doing it right. And then bringing back all these former stars for Marty's Hall of Fame and their Hall of Fame in general, and how they get these kids hooked with the Reds Kids Club and everything like that. Like, they do a good job. Like, anyone that's going to call the Reds front office and management inept, like, I don't know about that. Like they tend to do things the right way. They've put a lot of money into that ballpark. Like we're living all right in Cincy right now. We just need to win a wild card game.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that's a very underappreciated, thing about the Castellini era is kind of how they turned that around, because it wasn't always like that. Going to games at Synergy and Riverfront, there wasn't all these extra activities and things. And yeah, I feel like the Reds, they nail it, and the stadium's definitely very underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And they pulled out the pocketbook in the last couple of years, and they've put a team on the field that we're all proud of. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, anytime. Let me know.
Yes, sir.
See you, dudes. Thanks. See you, Carlos.
See you, buddy.
All right, and that was Charlie Walter hanging out with us for a bit. Really fun. If you want to follow him on Twitter, I want to give him a chance to do it before to shout himself out before he got out of here, but that's okay. He's Charlie Walter at Charlie Walter TV. I don't know any man in the world that travels as much as he does, so that was really awesome to have him come on and talk with us a bit. So just wrapped up the Cardinals series, guys. Before we get back on next week, which you guys will obviously be without me, which is another story for another time. Kind of looking at what's coming up. So this team right now, they've got a 3-game homestead. They're off tomorrow against the Detroit Tigers, who honestly have played they've played way better than any of us thought they would be.
Yeah.
They're 63-71, so they're about 8 games under 500. If you want to see a big time prospect and you're looking to go to a game, this Sunday, the 110 game, you get to see Casey Mize, former number 1 overall pick in the draft, who I think the world of as a baseball pitcher. I think he is going to be tremendous. He's got a 3.59 ERA this year. He's going against Luis Castillo, so that's going to be a really fun pitching matchup if you want to catch that game. But this is a Tigers team who really has sped up their.
Is he right-handed?
Yeah, man, he is awesome. He is so good.
Oh, he's screwed.
Yeah,
he's screwed.
Better throw left-handed.
Yeah.
But
don't come up here with that weak shit.
The one good thing about the Tigers is they're 34-34 at home, but they're 28-37 on the road. So they are one of the teams that hasn't played as well on the road for whatever it's worth. So hopefully that continues this weekend.
Yeah, Miggy's got his 500, so you don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen at your ballpark. God, isn't that crazy? Like, we're at that point in Miguel Cabrera's career where, like, we talked about this with Ben Verlander when we had him on the show, but I remember seeing Miggy, was it 2012? The Reds played a Sunday night baseball game against the Tigers, and they were up really big in the game. They were up like 8-2 or something like that, and the Tigers came back and won because that was when they had Miggy and Prince Fielder hitting back to back in their lineup, and they were freaking tremendous. That series was Saturday. Bronson pitched against Justin Verlander, and they went at it. It was like an awesome game. I think Joey might have gotten a hit off Verlander that game. But yeah, so this Tigers team, for people who don't know, they're a team that's really kind of sped their timeline up. This obviously they've been brutal for a long time, but kind of make some noise. I know they won today against a really good A's team. They're playing a bunch of guys you probably haven't heard of, like Akil Baddoo. Who else? Candelario is in their lineup now. So that's a team to kind of be excited for. You expect the Reds to get 2 out of 3 just because they're a younger team, but a fun team to watch.
Man, they've got Detroit has a winning record since the start of May.
Yeah. I mean, they might be the 3rd toughest team the Reds play the rest of the way. I mean, I think they might be tougher than the Cardinals right now. I mean, I know the Reds just lost 3 to the Cardinals, but yeah, I mean, they're going to be one of the tougher teams the Reds play the rest of the way for sure.
Yeah,
I like their uniforms.
It's classic, I heard it's a cool stadium, their new one. I've never been, but
I've never been either.
It's a dump.
Yeah, Detroit's mostly
the
best place.
In fairness, I went to Detroit for a Tigers game a week after going to Fenway.
Oh,
so I don't know. Maybe it was just like, but I went to Citi Field, saw the Mets played. I didn't think it was like terrible after going to Fenway like a week before as well. Kind of did several ballparks, but yeah, it did not hit. It was rough. Like a merry-go-round that looks like it's kind of run down. It's just, I don't know. It has a nice view. That's about it. Maybe on a nice day it'd feel better. It's kind of gloomy out. Detroit's gloomy.
Yeah. one of my guys who works on my NBA show with me, grew up in Detroit. He's like a diehard Pistons fan. He's like, man, Little Caesar Arena is so cool. I'm like, I don't care. I'm sorry.
Detroit
Yeah.
basketball.
But pitching matchups this weekend, you got Tyler Alexander for the Tigers on Friday going against Vlad Gutierrez. Alexander, yes, is a left-hander. So although a young left-hander, still a left-hander.
Sure got
Doesn't
like
matter.
7 straight Reds last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
He
And
came in
then-
relief. I think the Reds won the game.
Yeah, you think you're right. Saturday, they have Matthew Boyd, who is the ultimate proof that wins and losses do not matter at all in baseball this year because he's actually had a really good year. 1.2 whip, 61 strikeouts in 75 innings, but has a 3-7 record. Also a left-hander. And then, like I mentioned on Sunday, you've got Casey Mize, former number 1 overall pick, pitching against Luis Castillo.
God almighty, that's a tough series.
Yeah, that's not fun.
You need to adjust your strength of schedule, Kirby.
They're included in that. I mean, okay, let's go through the rest of them. 9 with the Pirates, 4 with the Nationals, 3 with the Cubs, and then they have 3 with the Dodgers, 2 with the White Sox, 3 with the Cardinals. I mean, the Padres, they only play one team the rest of the way that's below 500, and they play the Angels twice. The team was Shohei Ohtani. Like, I mean, sure, the Padres could, get really hot and beat some of these good teams and play over 500. But the Reds should be able to play well above 500 the rest of the way with their schedule. So if the Reds don't make it, it's going to be probably the Reds' fault at this point. I mean,
Did you say the other day, if the Reds don't have a better record than the Cardinals, then they shouldn't be in the playoffs.
It's true.
No, I'm saying, I don't think the Reds are going to, what do they have? 29 games left. I don't think the Reds are going to go 20-9 and still miss. The Reds are probably going to have to go like below 500 to miss, or a couple games over at best. Because the Padres aren't going to go 20-9 or anything like that with their schedule. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, so like Nick said, we get through the Tiger series, and then, you got 3 with the Cubs and Wrigley, who did just take 2 or 3 from the Reds, but have really kind of struggled, obviously, since the trade deadline for purpose reasons. What's his face from the Cubs lately has just been ripping the ball, though. God, what the
Frank?
hell is his name? Yeah. Oh my God.
I have no idea what his last name is.
Yeah. I had him in fantasy baseball for like a week and then traded up. What is that glove, Carlos?
It's the Hulk hands.
You use that to
I'm
drink
in
with?
the kids' playroom. I'm in the kids' playroom.
We that boring?
Gosh, it's something I said.
You're lucky I can't flip you off. I'm trying.
And of course, after that, you've got the last 2 with the Cardinals and then Pittsburgh coming for the Dodgers. So, yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. And I know after the 2-3 loss to the Cubs, the Marlins series, and this one, a lot of people are like on Twitter where, everyone just wants to hate the world. I'm not naming any names particular, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Just want to go ahead and just like be like, oh, strength of schedule. I got to play the games. Like, yes, we get it. But like what we're talking about is optimism and hope for this team to do something very well, and the situations are there.
Speaking of optimism, let's talk about Gino for a quick second.
Heck yeah, man.
He's back.
Had a home run taken away from him tonight. Got a home run later in the game to say, take that one from me. I love it.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if he could just hit lefties. Like I at this point in the season, I don't even need you to hit righties. Just hit lefties, fill that platoon at third base. Man, if he hit lefties even league average, that would be a huge boost for the Reds right now.
Yeah, it would, man. I would just be, that would really take them a
Well,
long way.
he'll probably start Friday, right?
Yeah, I mean, I especially after the game today. I mean, he was
When
already
is,
in most of the platoon starts at third base. I mean, why not run him out there against lefties at this point?
Barrero's going to be called up whenever he's eligible, right?
Yeah, but he's not eligible till next week. I think it was.
Damn, that long?
Yeah, he didn't get actually sent down till the. I had it the 28th, I think, of August. So
He's got to wait
I
10
don't think
days.
I don't think it's like the 7th or 8th is when he's eligible to return. I assume he's going to be back because I don't think the Reds want to play anyone other than him or Kyle Farmer at shortstop, right?
I agree.
I mean,
So he's not even playing. He's not playing AAA right now.
He played today.
Yeah, well, he was on the taxi squad and stayed on the road trip with the Reds through Sunday. I guess just, in case there was an injury, he could, jump right back on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bats were off Monday. They got rained out Tuesday. So it hasn't all been just because of him not playing. But yeah, I mean, there could be an injury and he's back up before then. I mean, the Reds have 28 players. One of them possible could get hurt, and he's the first guy up.
Carlos, let me ask you about that. Actually, I'm kind of curious about this because, obviously you were in the minors for a little while. You played in the big leagues. So when this time of the year comes, when the rosters expand, at your time, obviously it was like 12 dudes went up, like 15 dudes went up. Obviously now it's a little different with 3 or 4. When you're in the minors and those guys that knew they were on the 40-man, were they kind of like banking on this? Like, just get through August and come September 1st, like I'm going to the big leagues for a little bit. Was that something that was like passed around a lot in your time?
You pretty much have an idea if you're within that fringe or not. A lot of the guys on the 40 men are still way too young, kind of like AA type players, high A or even. But you have a feeling. They give your agent a word, say, hey, if he continues on this path, it might be an option. It's never like a total shock or anything like that.
I try to think about obviously Billy Hamilton what's going on with my hat today? I know Billy was like someone that came up with a 40-man. I remember when Mesoraco got called up, he was part of like the expanded rosters his first time. So I was kind of curious about like what that situation is like for guys. Cause like you said, cause you skipped AAA when you went to the majors, didn't you?
Yeah.
So your situation was a little different in that circumstance. Cause you also got called up in June?
Yeah. Cause I got hurt. So I had to make the team out of camp. So I was on track. They had already told me, you're going to make the team like 2 weeks out, and then, growing hamstring, whatever the hell. It took me a while to get ready. So that's why I was so late in the season.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Cause I know like it's cool. Like I like the expanded rosters. I'm okay with the fact that it's not like 15 dudes getting called up anymore. But those moments were fun. Like Aroldis Chapman in 2010, Billy Hamilton. Yeah. Like those were neat like experiences. Like, and I was at Billy Hamilton's debut when he stole off Yachty. And it was like awesome because they tried to like throw over like 8 times.
I'd like to see them expanded, maybe to like 5.
It really hurts the Reds this year. Because the Reds have like multiple guys that they're hiding right now. Like Garrett is just a guy that they're hiding on their roster.
Yeah.
Aquino to an extent. I mean, they're still platooning him. So Suarez, who else? There's someone else. Shogo. Like these are basically guys the Reds are just hiding on their roster because they don't have options and they have multiple years left of control or under contract. So yeah, I mean, I think the Reds probably, if there was 40 men, the Reds probably would have caught up 5 or 6 guys today under a normal year. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish they would have done it a little different. I feel like they're really kind of screwing out some of these minor league guys that could have got called up. The Reds have, multiple pitchers. They could have called up another catcher. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they do it differently where you have to declare you can only have so many eligible pitchers on a given night. Because I think that was really the only beef with anyone, right? Was that teams would, pitch 12 different guys on a night, just have a limit of how many pitchers you can have. And then it's also just a way that, you can maybe even prevent some pitcher injuries down the stretch with extra guys, hey, he's off tonight, not declared as one of your, I don't know, 10, however many guys you want to pick for a given night.
I think the 3-batter rule kind of changes that a little bit too. Because at that time, like you were mentioning, like you could go and throw a pitch and then get taken out. Where now, like with the 3-batter rule, it's a little different in that circumstance. Like, yeah, I agree with that.
And you're not going to pitch, a guy you're really not sure about because he has to face 3 batters. Like, you can't say, oh, doesn't have it, next guy. Like, when you bring a guy on now, you have to be like, all right, well, either this guy's going to get me out of the inning or he's got to get 3 outs. And, that's a good point, Tim. It definitely makes a lot of difference. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a rule that maybe needed to be in play like 5 years ago, but now with the 3 batter, I don't know. I wish there was more guys. I wish they could have called up more guys.
Because I think too, like the curiosity of guys, really, like this was like our kind of like time to get those glimpses, guys. Like, hell, even go back to 2010, Yonder Alonso was part of the roster expand. That was a first round overall. That was a first round pick. There was a lot of people who were like really like, oh, this is the guy that we're really excited about. He played in the College World Series with Miami. Brandon Finnegan pitched in the College World Series and the World Series in the same year when he was with the Royals because he got a chance to be a call up. So that was really cool. I think it's just, something where like it gets that curiosity. I think this year, like you said, Nick, like not even just like the pitcher part of it. A TJ Friedl couldn't benefit from being on this run. The Reds couldn't benefit from TJ Friedl right now to see if he could help this team out as far as like even just a defensive replacement. Like, there's like so many different ways you could have gone with it if you just go, like Carlos said, to 5-6 dudes.
Yeah, I think in 2010 there was so many guys called up.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but I feel like they've definitely probably had like close to 35 guys. That year they had
the random ass Willie Bloomquist edition, like
wasn't eligible for the playoffs. One of those one of those weird trades. I wouldn't be surprised if the Reds pick someone up again down the stretch here. Another Willie Bloomquist like kind of guy to just help them get over the hump that gets cut for whatever reason.
Is Matt Stairs still available?
All-time pinch hit home run leader right there, man.
He matched lefties, right?
Yeah.
What's Jay Bruce doing right now?
He's a lefty.
They have Logan Morrison in Louisville right now. Like, they couldn't put him on the 40-man.
He's a lefty. Not gonna help you. You ain't right-handed bats, man.
Nah.
No lefty crime.
Didn't Jay hit his homer off of a lefty to clinch it?
The infamous homer.
His career was a little different story against lefties. Look it up.
Lefty on lefty crime, baby.
I think he was like, there's actually a really cool story. He was talking about, Bruce was on the Jim Day podcast. And I don't know if you remember, Tim, but he was talking about how Dusty always sat him against Wandy Peralta, who was the starter that night. And I guess one of the cool things about Dusty was that Dusty told Jay, hey, I'm going to start you this night just because I want you to be a part of this if we're able to clinch. And, ended up being in.
Yeah, he hit him 7th that night.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have even have been in the lineup. But he put him in there, and the rest is history. I think he was like 0 for 10 off of Burdick, Tim Burdick, or something like that. Like just one of those. That's baseball.
Joey talked about that same thing where it was like Dusty was going to sit him against CC Sabathia that half year he was with the Brewers. He's like, no, man, I want to play today. He went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
What's up with Joey not having an off day since in the whole month of August?
I know.
Well,
he's got to be lobbying for that, right, Carlos? Like he's got to be. Don't take me out
now. Not now.
Well, this is the guy that's really adamant about.
He was obviously gassed, when they got back from Miami and stuff. But that off day they had yesterday, and then they're having another one tomorrow, so
that's true.
It'll be good.
It's incredible, man. I played the whole month to take a whole day off in August at 37 years old. I mean, that's in 2021. That's pretty unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not Ricky Henderson-esque, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
They're playing on his birthday next Friday.
They're in St. Louis.
Ooh.
There you go.
He's gonna get booed on his birthday, man.
Nice.
He might love that though. Straight Javi bias. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think we've touched on just about everything.
Do we want to talk about Schilt?
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Talk about Schilt.
Yeah, Schilt a bitch. But
Schilt.
Can I say that?
He's a Schilt.
It's our show. I guess I can say that, right? But this kind of goes back to that Brandon Phillips comment in 2010 about the Cardinals just bitch about everything. And
It was brutal. Like, what was he asking for? That
so
looks like somebody took a bite out of it. Like, I mean,
my wife
was
and I
hell.
were, my wife and I were on the way to the grocery store when it was going on, and my dad calls me. He's like, "Are you watching the game?" I was like, "No, I'm just kind of watching it on Gamecast." So that's when I texted you guys. I was like, "What did they say?" And he's like, "I think they're gonna call him out because you can't play with a cracked bat." And I was like, "I don't think that's real." And I guess like he's like sitting there giving me the play-by-play on the phone, like they're looking at his bat now. The Cardinals are complaining. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? And sure enough, like I finally get to Twitter and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Was this like 1995? You getting play-by-play from your pops over the phone?
Yeah, man.
Like we can watch the game on our phones now, man.
They're talking on Nextels.
Click the talk.
If I pull up my phone to watch a game in Trader Joe's, I'm getting the look. You know what I mean?
But you're not talking to your dad. I guess your dad.
Hey, you're going to the.
Dad called me.
You're going to the grocery store at freaking 7:00 at night. You, my friend, are still on that honeymoon vibes because
we haven't been at a grocery store in forever. We do pickups, man.
Yeah. No way, Jose.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty, man. Especially Mike Schilt, because earlier in the year he had the whole thing where he was so upset, so distraught that someone questioned. It was a Gallegos, right?
Yeah.
Questioned him that he had substance on him or whatever. Like he was so distraught about that, and then he's asking about chipped bat, like after pitcher gives up a grand.
I wonder why he said that. Like, I'm sure they asked questions. I haven't seen anything on Twitter, but I wonder what he said. The reason for checking it would be
didn't help his team. I mean,
yeah.
Hopefully, Carlos, do you think that's something that? I mean, I know these teams are overrated, but do you think that's something that could just really that next series the Reds play in St. Louis, just give the Reds a little bit of extra juice? Or
no, not only if the Reds would have reacted back, it would have.
Yeah,
like it's dead now. Like if
the clip where Castellanos just handed him the bat and was like,
yeah, like if Nick would have gave a gesture or David Bell would have given a gesture, there might have been something there to it. But now it's like, it's dead. There's nothing there. They beat the crap out of them. That's enough.
You hate to see it.
But you love it.
Thank God they did.
Yeah, I needed that one today for sure.
Yeah, I'm just, I feel like it's like whoever's in the Cardinals managerial spot just has to. I feel like it's like part of the job duties for that franchise to act that way between La Russa, Matheny, and him.
I don't know. I never have any beef with any of the other NL Central managers other than the Pirates and Cardinals, man. It's like, do you ever really have any beef with Craig Counsell? Like, do you ever like, oh man, I hate that guy? Like, I've never like felt any angst towards Craig or David Ross.
Manager is now.
I actually hate that I like Craig Counsell as much as I do.
Yeah, he's a likable dude. Yeah.
I like Ross.
Yeah, Ross is pretty likable too. But yeah, it's just St. Louis, man. They just hire the worst.
They're the worst.
They are the worst. Yeah.
All right. I got to go back to the garage.
Well, I guess with that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap up this week's edition of Late Night Reds Talk Live. Thanks always for everyone tuning in each and every week. We really appreciate it. I'm glad my internet did not fail me this week as we were able to knock out this show. I will not be here next week, but Nick will be pinch hitting as the host next week. So he'll have a fun show for you as always, talking about a Cardinals and Cubs series and everything else to look forward to for that as well. Say it every week, but if you please have a moment and you're checking us out on Apple Podcasts, please take a second to give us that 5-star review. It goes a long way for us as we're trying to get ready for the off season, hopefully get some hot stove shows for you. And a whole lot more. So that just goes a long way. And follow Nick on YouTube at Nick Kirby. If you aren't able to check out the show live when we record it on YouTube, follow there and you can watch the podcast there as well. So thank you all. We really appreciate everything. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves and go Reds.
Goodbye.
Streams
Great
off
shit,
too.
fellas.
I am